Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of No More Mondays Midweek Momentum, where we are talking about the very little tricky word optimize, because I think we have taken optimization to an entirely new level and we need to stop optimizing everything. Just because you can iterate and optimize doesn't necessarily mean you should. And there is a point at which continual optimization will have diminishing returns, right? It's super easy, especially in the age of AI and technology, to confuse optimization with progress. And the reason that that is a dangerous and slippery slope is the efficiency obsession actually ends up stealing progress. I'll give you an example. How many companies have you heard about? I could probably list at least two handfuls who rolled out AI and found out that in actually having their employees prompt the software or prompt AI, it was taking more time than if they just did it on their own. Now, that's kind of partly optimization and also partly an AI trap, but it kind of falls into this idea that we're trying to optimize workflows, we're trying to optimize content, we're trying to optimize routines, we're trying to optimize everything, either human process or AI process, but we're either optimizing too much or in the wrong ways, or we're optimizing the wrong things. Think about stuff like endlessly tweaking systems, constantly reworking your brand or your messaging or your web copy, your LinkedIn page, perfecting tools and funnels instead of getting out in front of people to do business development, or constantly trying to onboard agents and other productivity hacks that don't replace your actual output or don't make in the long run, don't create any kind of time. Now, that said, there's a place for this kind of stuff, right? AI can make optimization, and the tools that we have available to us can make optimization really, really viable. But that is tricky because then it becomes easy to do. And we can forget that we, as the human in the whole ecosystem, still need to discern where AI is actually enabling us or augmenting us or making us more productive versus just available and easy to tool around and tweak with. And I say this as somebody who I am a former engineer. I love systems. I love learning new systems. I love building innate agents and seeing what I can actually automate. However, it can be super easy to spend an entire weekend building one of those that isn't going to actually save me more than 5 minutes over the next 5 years. And so, was that actually a return on investment? Not necessarily. And so it becomes really tricky to look at what should I actually optimize? What is efficient and effective in my optimization, because that doesn't automatically equal time saved or time gained. And so whether this is trying to perfect an idea you're putting out there, a product you and your team are launching, right? Over optimization, perfectionist trap, or it is where can I optimize all of these workflows behind the scenes? I want you to think about intentional optimization, even intentional systems. We could take this a broader level, right? Think about intentional optimization, intentional iteration. And this is something I really like to think about. And I was talking to a group of coaches earlier today, and I said the following, and I think this is relevant and important here, is that before you go and automate or bring AI into a process, figure out what the human steps of the process are. So instead of trying to shove your humans into some sort of arbitrary AI process, take AI and apply it to some sort of steps or SOP or process you've worked out from a manual human perspective, because now you're using AI to augment your business instead of trying to over optimize just because AI is available. Now, once you do apply that automation to this existing human process, you can then take it to a next level. You can then optimize it on top of that to an appropriate extent. But we're not trying to over index on the availability of all of these tools. Managing them is oftentimes more time consuming than doing some things ourselves. And that's some of that stuff that we found from these big companies that rolled out AI and found that their teams were spending more time managing the AI than if they just did the work themselves. And the thing about doing the work themselves is we maintain the brain power. So that's a lot about optimization and why and how we should really be intentionally thinking about where we try to automate and optimize systems, what type of automation and optimization we do and don't want to bring in, and make it intentional, and make sure that it is actually efficient, because that doesn't always equal effectiveness, even if it gives you the illusion of it. And so what I'll challenge you with for the rest of this week is to look at, what are you trying to constantly iterate that you could just let go of, right? What are you trying to optimize that isn't actually moving any sort of needle forward? I feel this is a great time to remind you of a really simple little tool that comes from way analog days in the Charles Schwab, good old Andrew Carnegie, from my alma mater. And the tip that one gave the other that changed his business, and that is, what are the 6 most important things you need to do tomorrow to move your business or your team forward? Those things are typically directly tied to revenue. And I challenge you to think that it's very unlikely that the tiny little optimization that you want to make to your marketing funnel is directly tied to revenue more than just getting out and being in front of people. Just because it can be optimized doesn't mean it should. What are you optimizing that isn't actually moving you forward towards your goal?